Hello again, and welcome. I am your retired but bored 3D printer beginner. I'm going to talk today about the other projects that you want to be able to do with your 3D printer. After all, the only one that you know anything about when you get your printer for the first time are the ones that come with the machine. And they're the ones that are going to be the perfect ones for that machine to produce because that's what the manufacturer wants you to see. And believe me, they're absolutely perfect. And I really enjoyed doing them at the time because they came out so nice. However, after that is when I started having my problem. Today, I'd like to talk about one particular area that was of real interest to me at the very beginning, and I wanted to make sure that I had an idea of what it was all about, but I knew nothing. When I bought my first 3D printer, that was the ANET 8, and after I put it together, the next big decision was, what do I do with it? Well, in the packet that came with the machine, of course, there was a um, SD card that contained the operating system, but it also contained two projects or models. So consequently, it was my attempt to try and figure out how to do something was go ahead, print the two of them, which I did. Um, it it was the best model I think I've ever done with those two objects, those two projects, because I think the manufacturer probably picks something that they send along to be printed by their new customer to do something that's really going to come out nice. So the next thing was, once I've done those two things, now what do I do? Well, there are at least two programs that I've used. One is called Thingiverse, that's Thingiverse, and the other one is Cults 3D, that's CULT space 3D. Now, those are two programs that you can get online and you can find various projects that you can do. Let's start off today with Thingiverse. Now, when you get online, they're going to want you to sign up so that when you come on, you are going to be a member of their little organization. The thing that I like about Thingiverse is the fact that it is free. Every project that they have online is free. One of the things I found out very early in working with that particular program was the fact that if I typed in on the search engine, let's say ANET 8 projects or ANET 8 parts, I could then bring up a series of different parts to my machine that would make it better, would perform better, would be more sturdy, would give it some stability that it didn't have in the original design. And so therefore I could present those parts on the machine myself, making them myself, and then adding them to the machine as we went along. One of the problems that I encountered, however, with the ANET 8 was the fact that it just didn't print the quality that I would have liked. It would leave some very light areas. The plastic thickness was not as thick as I'd like. It didn't come out as clean looking as I'd like. And all of a sudden I realized I knew very little about what I was doing in terms of the amount of filling that I wanted in the product. And so consequently, my first attempts at building various things, it failed pretty bad. one of the things that I was trying to do was to have an adjustment for the one belt on the I believe it was the y-axis, and it had a screw that you were actually building out of plastic, and I built it, but oh man, it just didn't work. It just didn't look like it was so much work to try and put it together, and then once I got it together, it just didn't work. I will say that after I got my new 3D machine, my QIDI, I was able to have a machine produce a part that worked much better. And in fact, a lot of my ANET 8 parts that I had originally made on that machine, I have now made on my QIDI machine, and they have come out almost perfect. But then this is quite a while later after I had started finding out some of the little technicalities that hopefully you'll learn as you go along, but you're not going to know right at the beginning. Believe me, at first you're best if you just if you'd be best if you just try and do as many projects as you can, try and make little changes in temperature of the bed or temperature of the nozzle, or the amount of fill that you're going to have, or the amount of time that it's going to take, and the speed that you're going to go, and just try different small parts uh, that you're going to do multiple times, just to make sure you've got a situation where you understand what you're doing. The important thing about Thingiverse is that it has an amazing number. I think there's like 24,000 different objects that you can find and you can print. Now, each one of them, as you download them into your slicer and then ultimately into your machine, whether you do that by way of an SD card or by way of a connection to the internet, either by Wi-Fi or by your Ethernet. Once you've loaded them on the machine, sometimes there are products that you are trying to produce that just for some reason the machine just can't do them the way that they have come out. One of the things that you should be concerned about is the fact that um, these parts sometimes are not lying in the right position. So one of the most important things you can learn is once you take a product off of Thingiverse and put it into your slicer, you want to be able to check it in all different directions in your slicer to make sure it's laying on the bed. And if necessary, learn how to turn the object so it's laying in a different position than even perhaps it came from Thingiverse into the slicer. There are ways you will learn, and we'll go into those at a later date. But at this particular point, I just want to bring to your attention the fact that there's these little things that you're going to learn that you're going to have to experiment with. A lot of what's going to happen with regards to 3D printing is going to be a situation where you're going to be picking up various skills as you go along. Experience is the best teacher. And you may end up doing a particular part several times just because you want to find out just the difference that you can have, that your printer will do based on different techniques that you put into the actual slicer as you are beginning to put together your project. And make sure you learn a variety of things. For example, let's say you have a particular part that you want to produce, that you want to use multiple numbers of those parts. Let's say that you've got a particular item that has 4 legs on it, and it gives you a picture of 1 leg, and you need 4. Learn how to make multiple parts at the same time rather than having to do one part at a time. And there are ways that you can bring that same file from Thingiverse into your slicer and put it on a different position on your print bed and produce all 4 parts at the same time. Now, that being said, there are times that you are going to want to make sure that your time frame is such that you really don't want to leave it there. You're going to be going away. There's some particular reason why the timing is important. Then maybe at that point you just want to do one at a time rather than multiples. The beauty of Thingiverse is there's no cost to it. You can make a contribution to the company. They ask for that, a donation, but there's no requirement that you have to pay anything. The important thing I also think that you need to remember is this is for us creators, us people who are going to be using it on a personal basis, the 3D print. So we really shouldn't be using, I believe part of the requirement when you use one of these things is that you're not using them for commercial purposes. So you can't turn around and produce one of somebody else's designs and not pay them for that design if you're going to use it to, say, sell on your YouTube or your website shop that you have. If you create your own design, then you also have a situation, and we'll get into that later, where there are CAD programs that you can get for free, that you can use, that you can learn about how to develop a particular part, etc. But they're letting you do it for free only because you're agreeing not to use it commercially. For example, I think there is one program out there that it's over $1,000 a month to use it for commercial purposes. Well, unless you know for sure you're going to be selling enough parts, you don't want to do that. Usually utilizing a $1,000 a month project unless you know for sure that you can develop that much as far as sales. But going back to Thingiverse now again, once you get into the program, you can change the search for particular parts, and you can scroll through and see what they look like. What's interesting is that once you find a part, you're going to have a little box that has a picture in it, and it's going to tell you the name of that particular thing, and it's going to allow you to take it to the next page. And on the next page, it's going to probably give you a multiple number of pictures of that particular part at the bottom of the picture that they show you on the page. Those various pictures under the bottom of the main picture, you can change and bring up into the larger image that's above it. And each one of those images shows you something a little different. Sometimes it's going to show you a finished product. Sometimes it's going to show you a part or parts. There may be multiple parts to a particular model that you want to put together and realize, oh, golly, when I get to that point, I don't know that I really want to try and make 6 different parts just to put them all together. But on the other hand, that may be exactly what you're looking for. The important thing is, right now, without a 3D printer, you can go online to Thingiverse and start looking at all the projects that are there. Start looking and start the download process so that you can get to the point where you can see the various parts of that particular project to get an idea of what it would take for you to actually 3D print something, some particular project. Well, I think that's going to be enough for today. I'm going to tell you that this is the end of my time today, and I will be looking forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thanks again, and goodbye.